Now, Corey, what's your news about Brandon Ingram? Because I kind of think this all sort of ties together.
Rumors are swirling, according to Kelly Iko from The Athletic, that the Pelicans are offering Brandon, or the rumors are that Pelicans are offering Brandon Ingram in a trade to Houston for Alperen Sengun.
Your guy.
But Houston showed no
20 and
interest.
9.
Yeah, Houston showed no interest because they like the 20 and 9 from him. New Orleans also contacted Philadelphia to discuss a trade involving Ingram. So a guy that, Kevin, since LA traded him to New Orleans, I've been like, hey, that dude seems like he'd be great. The length, the ability to shoot the three, good defense. He can also get to the basket, create his own shot. He can bring the ball up court. That'd be a great dude. Expensive, though, probably. I feel like his contract
He's a max out or close to guy.
And that's kind of tough to have that many of those guys on your team.
He's still under contract for one more year at $36 million, so probably.
But to go along with, do you look at Derrick Jones Jr. and go, man, on-ball defender, it's so good, but his offense disappears. Brandon Ingram's offense will be there. So
I think that's a great question. And the whole reason that this ties into it is because we were just talking about this off air when Corey brought it up, and Mike immediately said, well, we're going to talk about the guy who you would have to trade to make that happen. And
yeah, you could get Brandon Ingram, but you'd have to trade Dereck Lively to get him. And I don't want to.
I don't think anybody wants to do that.
Yeah,
this would have to be one of those, like Nico Harrison does his Jedi mind trick and says, this is not the player you want. And you're
great.
Able to,
who are they looking for otherwise?
Yeah,
I'm willing to listen.
Nico was able to get rid of Bertans, Kevin. So
that's
again,
a good-ass
if he
point.
did that. So, but the focus is less on that. That's just me wanting to add a type of player to our starting five. But obviously,
if you could take all your young players and role players type of deal and give them to New Orleans for Brandon Ingram, and you had Luka, Kyrie, Lively, let's just say, even if PJ Washington had to go in the trade, but if you just had those three guys I named and Brandon Ingram, you might become the favorite in Vegas to win the NBA title.
Absolutely.
Next year.
And like that's my dream scenario, is to have that kind of length on the court at the same time, to go with that kind of scoring as well. But the main focus is the development of this kid this year for our team, our Dereck Lively guy. That, Kevin, was tremendous for me. And I think there's more to him.
It really was. And you know what's funny? I definitely agree that there's more to him. And I mean, look, people have already got excited about the potential of him shooting three-pointers. But for now, I just wanted to talk about some of the developments that you saw from him this season. Was there anything? I mean, the biggest thing for me, I know this is going to sound weird because sometimes we'll make fun of intangibles. I think the fact that he's already the third primary leader on this team, maybe, in terms of like being vocal and telling people what to do or where to go, I feel like that's a huge deal.
Yes, I will add on to that. How in the world did a 19-year-old have this high of basketball IQ? Just think of
Duke.
Of people. Well, even Duke, like, yeah, we had Cherokee Parks at one point, and he didn't have an IQ.
He probably had a good basketball IQ. He just didn't have any skill.
Yeah. I can't believe how smart he is in the NBA game. It takes usually the two spots that are the toughest to really become good at when you enter the NBA, and I don't know which order it's in, but it's point guard and center. Because you're either having to run a team from the ball being in your hands, and just think of, I'll just give two guys that are all-stars now. Think about how talented De'Aaron Fox and how talented Tyrese Maxey were. And it took them a while. It took them 2 to 3 years in the league to start figuring out how to be a quality point guard player overall, because it just takes time, especially when you come out of college after just 1 year and 30 games approximately of college basketball. And then the other one is center. Just think about, you just named Sengun, and I know that he's not from the United States, but it took him. Now, Houston saw it. They loved him. We were hearing about him after his rookie year, and I'm like, because we got Christian Wood, and like, well, we're moving Christian Wood because we got a guy 100 times better than him. And you're like, are you sure? Like, I guess watching the couple games against the Mavericks, I didn't see this special player.
Yeah.
Think about Jokic. And I know he wasn't a lottery pick, but it took him a little bit of time to become really good and now super great in the NBA. So I think there's so much more going now to Corey's point, so much more development there can be. I'm just shocked how good he was at 19 years old.
And then somebody asked the question, which I was like, oh man, I'm really fascinated by this. Would you be disappointed? Because you could project all you like. That's not the way it's necessarily going to go. Would you be disappointed if Dereck Lively had the career of Joakim Noah? And my initial thought was yes, but then I was like, hold on. Let me go back and check. 2-time All-Star, first team All-NBA one year, and that was the year he won Defensive Player of the Year. First or second team All-Defense 3 times. So that's a heck of a resume. And so my initial thought was, I think Dereck Lively has a good bit more offensive potential because obviously he can stretch, well, not obviously, we think he can stretch the court way more than that.
He was 4th in MVP voting one year?
Dude, that year he won Defensive Player of the Year. He was unbelievable.
Wow. He had the weirdest shot I've ever seen in my life.
Fair.
Like that thing, he looked like he was trying to throw a screwball at the
His
backboard.
dad taught him how to play, and he was a tennis player.
Oh, yeah. And he's like, hey, he puts
like, I don't know, the ball-
Yannick Noah, right?
You
Yeah.
toss it up in the air and smash it.
Saw Yannick Noah once dive into the water and get a fish out of the ocean and then eat it on camera. It was amazing.
What?
Check it out.
I won't be disappointed if he's the next Joakim Noah, but I do think he will be much better offensively. Joakim Noah
Which is
wasn't
something
bad.
you didn't see coming out of Duke when
Not at all.
early the
If-
season.
If you go watch his Duke games and film, you're like,
He didn't stretch the court.
Was he
No.
more of a facilitator from the post than
they
anything
didn't even
else?
want him touching the ball. They just wanted him setting picks because they had Filipowski
Yeah.
And then
as the
rebound.
other. They had 2 7-footers, and they're like, he's the offensive guy, you're the defensive
Yeah.
guy.
Gotcha.
So you didn't really get to see much offensively from him. So, I mean, this was my assumption, which I was wrong. He can't play offense because Duke doesn't want him touching the ball.
And AAU people were like, dude, I'm telling you, man, he can shoot a 3. I just remember I was like, I'm not disputing that. I didn't watch all his AAU games. I saw all his Duke games and didn't look like it.
So, yeah, I think he can be maybe in a way the new version of Joakim Noah because Noah enters the NBA in 2007, and it's a very different sport in 2007 than it is in 2023-24. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I like
Sorry, I'm also watching that Yannick Noah video that he told me, and good for him. He dives into the water, grabs a fish, and comes out with it.
Wow. Okay. Well, I do think he can be this generation's version of Noah, and I'd be very happy with that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay. I could see that. I like that.
I mean, I'm looking, he was 0.03 point attempts in his career,
Yeah,
Noah.
he didn't. I don't ever
So-
remember him shooting a 3-pointer.
So on this team, though, because you have Kai and because you have Luka, it would be beneficial if they could incorporate more post for Luka's purposes, so he doesn't have to be the one driving to the basket. So he doesn't have to be the one creating for them. It would be good for them to be able to say, I'm just going to throw it on 7 or 8 possessions in this game. I can just throw it into the post and you can take care of it. Or maybe 10 possessions in a game.
Can I ask this question off of that? Watching NBA basketball a lot, I don't know if anybody feeds the post anymore.
I know they don't. And that's where I'm saying zig when somebody's zagging. Or zag when everybody's zigging.
I wonder if...
But I don't know what kind of development he has there, and if he needs to, because we're also trying to ask him to develop his 3 at the same time.
I wonder if it's not necessarily down in the post, but he would be able to have an advantage once he got down there because he took the ball a little higher, and he would just be able to outwork or maybe out athletic, however you want to put it, whoever's defending him. So like it would end up in the same place, but not by the
Start
same
there?
method. Yeah, but I would go a little higher and then see if how well he can move with the ball, which is a skill that needs to be developed.
I'm doing everything I can to try and find ways to give Luka rest in the regular season next year.
I understand, and you also are talking about there's kind of 2 things here with Lively and his development. He's probably only going to play 2 to 4 more years with Kyrie.
Sure.
Kyrie's career
I
isn't
can
coming
see
to
that.
a close in the next 2 years. It's over, but the Kyrie that we saw this year is not going to get better.
He'll turn into a
The only time
three-point
I've seen
shooter.
people get a lot better, and it wasn't even in basketball, was when you just start taking the needle. and you can start getting better in your mid-30s.
He'll start becoming a three-point shooter primarily.
Yeah, and I mean, little guys' careers end very quickly.
Yeah.
I understand him talking about LeBron, Kyrie, and how he's going to play at a very high level till he gets close to 40, but in the history of the NBA, the closest that's ever been like that is John Stockton. That could actually play at a high level into his mid to late 30s. Most guys, when they hit mid 30s that are small guys, really struggle to play in the NBA at all at that size.
And Stockton,
Steph.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, Steph's 6'4", right?
I think he's only 6'2" or 3".
Okay.
I thought he was smaller than that.
Yeah, but I hear what you're saying. He's a smaller guy.
But to your point, there's not a lot of them. That's just Steph immediately jumped to mind. For
right,
that.
but you think of Iverson, you think of guys like Isaiah Thomas,
Yeah.
guys that use super quickness, and
Yeah.
and you go, okay, and yeah, Steph Curry is listed at 6'2", so you're right about that. I just think of, man, can you play at a very high level past 35 years old? So I think that Kyrie does have 3 more great years, but Dereck Lively's development, he might, we're hoping this happens, by the time he hits the end of his rookie contract, he develops into your second best player. And like, not because by default, that he really is like a number 2.
In my next development next year, oh my God, I didn't think that.
Yeah.
We're not going back to that
I saw
story.
Corey's face.
Is him essentially become, this is all your fault, an automatic double-double. Because you saw games 5 and 6 to close out OKC, 2 double-doubles.
yes.
He had 2 double-doubles in the NBA Finals, and that was crazy to me. He became the first rookie to achieve that since Magic Johnson in 1980. But I want him to become a double-double machine because you did see still plenty of games. And again, he's so young. He's developing.
Yeah, his body's not a man's body yet.
I agree with that. My next step, I would love to see, even if it's only 10-10, I would love to see more of the 10-10, even 12-9 or 9-12 games where he's like right there for double doubles, as opposed to, I feel like you saw plenty of games where you would get 12 and 12, but then 11 and 4, or 10 and 5 or something like. I want to see those numbers elevated where a 9-9 game, 9 points, 9 rebounds, you're like, okay, a little slower night than usual, but still good.
All right, Kevin. So you place the standard kind of at Joakim Noah. What if he has a Tim Duncan career? What if he's inevitable?
Then we're gonna win lots of titles.
What if you're just
you win 3 to 7?
Yeah,
he develops
championships.
shooting the shot off the glass over and over, and you're like, good God, we just can't stop that shot over and over.
Then you know what? Our future Mavericks segments don't really concern me one way or another because we're going to be just fine.
I mean,
Corey.
I'm just kind of, again, I know that era of basketball is bygone because of the way that you can play now, and stretching out the floor changes everything. Your spacing is everything. We just learned that with Boston, the way that they attacked you. But it got you, this style got you here. And if people can't stop your style and you can impose it on them, that's something I'm willing to give a try and see if it'll work out while continuing to add to this roster.
I do think he has the potential, which a lot of people don't reach their potential when we think of what it is. I'm just looking at Tim Duncan for his career because he played till he was 39. 19 points and 11 rebounds a game for his career. And obviously his points went from consistently 20 plus to, by the time he got into his mid-30s, it went down to 13 to 15 per game.
Yeah.
So you have to add all that up, and he still was at 19 points per game. But I do think maybe in his peak of his career that Dereck Lively could average 19 and 11.
I could see that as well. And even if he's...
does that have to be from 3?
No. I
think
don't...
making like one shot, one three, like 33%, one for 3. Yeah, but I think that he has a lot of skill. Dribbling, we'll see. We'll see. He doesn't have much dribbling skill, and it's very tough at his height to have great dribbling skills.
This was before Game 5, and obviously, Game 5 of the NBA Finals went poorly. But I saw the number. Dallas had outscored opponents in the postseason by 13.6 points per 100 possessions when Lively and Luka were on the court together. And so the fact that Luka already loves him, and he's like, are you kidding me? What was he, plus 25? That kid's big time. That's a great sign going.
Yeah, and last thing, I don't have his games at Duke, but it wasn't even the whole season, right? Because he was kind of hurt a little bit at Duke.
He actually played almost all the games,
So, like
except for
30?
2 or 3. Yeah, he played like 30 games.
He got in 76 games this year when you give him the 21 playoff games he played in. He missed one playoff game because of the concussion neck situation.
That's a lot of experience.
Right, because he only got 55 regular season games, but now when you look at the playoff games that he got and the intensity he got, now we talk about rest. From going from 30 games at Duke at 40 minutes a game, and he's not playing all 40,
he played
but
maybe half.
Yeah, to playing 24 minutes a night in the NBA, and then the intensity of the last 21 games, he's going to need to work on his body, but also he needs to kind of take that deep breath, because before we know it, to be honest, it's going to be mid to late September, and the Mavericks are reporting to their camp to get ready for their mid-October game against, I don't know,